Hello, my name is Paul Zukowski, and the purpose of this video is to discuss what a teacher's professional disposition should be when they're in the classroom, how they should present themselves to their peers and their students, and their roles in that environment. I will now address the first prompt. What is the teacher's role in supporting learning, improving planning and practice, upholding professional expectations, and collaboratively advancing the profession? A teacher's primary role is to help their students learn new content and to think critically about the world around them. To accomplish this, a teacher needs to foster an environment where students have the most opportunity to learn and grow, which includes all of the topics mentioned in this prompt. Students have many learning styles and need support in different ways to help them learn new material. Improving planning and practice allows a teacher to reflect on what does and doesn't work to improve their delivery. Professionalism allows students to maintain a space where learning is achieved easier for most students, and collaboratively working with peers to better themselves helps students as the teachers grow professionally on an individual level. In my opinion, this framework in which an educator should operate and how their dispositions are formed is imperative. This leads me to the second prompt. What dispositions do you currently possess that will make you a successful teacher? What dispositions do you need to work on before you enter the classroom as a first-year teacher? Personally, I am not a first-year teacher. I am in my 7th year of teaching, but I have some dispositions that I have developed over my career up to this point, and some things that I've changed to help me be an effective teacher. One thing I've worked on a lot as a teacher is my professional disposition towards my students, where I rarely share my personal opinions on topics that many people are passionate about, such as faith or politics. My own disposition towards this is that in a classroom, one must be sensitive to the faiths and opinions of their students. But also, as a follower of Christ, I am also called to share the gospel. I do this by living a Christ-centered life, even if I never say the words out loud. I like to think of the words of St. Francis of Assisi. Preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words. This gives me a personal bias of grace towards my students, which leads me to the third prompt. What effect could personal biases have on teaching and learning? According to the expectations of the profession, how should biases be taken into perspective? Personal biases have a greater effect on an educator than one might suspect. For instance, if I come to the classroom and I'm of the opinion that my students are incapable of learning the material I must teach them, I'm going to do a worse job teaching and delivering it to them than if they are actually able to manage it. On the flip side, a personal bias that every student can learn will result in me delivering better to my students, giving them more effort from my end, and trying to reach them where they are. This is my own personal bias and what influences my disposition towards my students, which leads me to the final prompt. Reflecting on your own professional dispositions related to education, explain how you will uphold and adhere to academic and professional integrity as a teacher candidate and as a future teacher. As I said before, I've been a teacher for 7 years, so there's some practices I do to maintain my efficacy as a teacher. One of those things is I meet with my superior periodically at least once a year, and we discuss things such as how I process assessments and how I structure my class and how I interact with my students. I also hold myself personally to a high standard so that I'm always improving year to year, and I constantly try to find areas where I can improve my delivery, my content, my tests, or some aspect of the class each year so that the class gets better for every new group of students that come through. With this in mind, I'm confident that I'm improving professionally and academically with the same standards I hold my own students to, and I continually grow my dispositions in a positive way for my teaching standards. Thank you for listening.